If you live in South Florida, your roof's not just a layer of shingles, it's the primary shield protecting everything underneath it. Most homeowners think that roofing is simple. You tear it off, you put on new shingles, and you're done. But that's not how it really works. So what actually makes a roof hurricane ready? First, understand this. A roof is an entire system. It's not just the top layer you see from the street. Underneath the shingles or the tile or the metal is your roof deck. Now the deck is usually plywood or tongue and groove, and that's what everything attaches to. And on top of that deck is something called the underlayment. And if you're not sure what underlayment is your waterproof barrier. It basically goes between your roof deck and your covering. So if your shingles, for example, lift off during a storm, or if a heavy rain happens to get water under the top layer, call that the roof covering, the underlayment is actually what keeps water out of your home. And as I talked about in a previous video, any pitched roof is a water shedding roof. It's not necessarily a waterproof roof. A waterproof roof would be a flat roof, where once again, the pitched roofs will be a water shedding roof. And as far as underlayments, there's a lot of different types. As I mentioned in another video, you have your basic felt paper, which is your 30-pound. You have synthetic underlayment, which isn't really used here in South Florida. And then you have your peel and stick membranes. So the peel and stick membranes are stronger because it adheres directly to the deck and it seals around all the fasteners. This is commonly referred to as peel and stick or direct to deck. And what this does is it creates a secondary water barrier. And in Florida storms, secondary protection is really going to matter, especially with strong wind-driven rain. That's where you're going to start to see some leaks. Or if you have any buildup, say in your valleys, if you have a bunch of trees over your roof, that can typically create a dam, and then water would flow upstream, and then you'd start to see some leaks come in. Now here's the bigger question. So if underlayment is so important, why don't all roofs use the same system? And the answer to that is because materials are going to vary, cost varies, and not all homeowners are told what's included underneath the shingles. And there are some companies that instead of charging an extra couple $100 or even $1,000, they're willing to get you to sign a contract at a lower price, offering you a inferior product versus price the job right for what it should be in the market and give you what the homeowner deserves for long-term protection. And that's where education or having an idea really matters. Now let's take a little bit of time to talk about Uplift. So what is Uplift? Uplift is the forces that are trying to pull your roof off of your house. Now, I'm not talking about the roof covering, your shingle tile metal. I'm actually talking about removing the roof system from the roof to the roof deck to the trusses, ripping that off the side of your house or separating that from your walls. So wind is going to push against the home in the create of a high wind event, and it's going to create a suction across the surface of the roof. So if your building envelope is weak, meaning that your windows or doors actually fail, internal pressure, once that window or door breaks and you get the storm inside your home, it's going to push upward from below at the same time that wind is pulling from the outside, as I've talked about in other videos. And that combination is what tears the roof and the trusses and the roof deck off your roof. So roofing protection is not just about shingles, metal, tile, it's about how everything connects together, which brings us up to roof to wall connections. And we've talked about hurricane straps in the past, but I'll get into it again. So roof straps, once again, are the metal connectors that tie your roof structure to the walls of your house. If this is your wall, this is your roof, it's very important that this connection is solid. So there's a bunch of older systems pre-Andrew that actually allowed for toenails or clips. Now, we have hurricane straps as part of the code, where they actually come up and over and they hook on to the trusses of your home. So think of it as an anchor, and the way that homes are built is going top down or bottom up. You have your roof, you have your roof to wall connection that anchors your roof to your walls. You have your walls that are anchored down into the foundation and into the footers here that are going to basically create one big system. And if any link in that chain is weakened, the weakest link breaks the chain. So it's important to understand that although you might be getting a new roof, your whole system can be compromised, and it's a very simple conversation from the contractor to the homeowner. But there's a lot of contractors that don't have that conversation because A, they're scared to charge a little bit more to get the homeowner the protection that they actually deserve, or B, because roofers are not allowed to do that work. You have to actually have a general contractor's license. So if they don't have a GC license, it's easier to avoid that conversation, offer a lower contract price, and walk away and go to the next job versus taking care of their customers, giving them the best product that they can at the end of the day and that's the way it should be in this industry. As I've mentioned before, those roof-to-wall connections are actually part of the roofing permitting process, to where a lot of roofing companies can kind of work around it using a gray area called exemptions. Now, if the cost of the hurricane strap upgrade is greater than 15% of the cost of the roof, that's one exemption. If the value on the property appraiser's website of your home, just the structure, not what you're seeing on Zillow or Redfin, is under $300,000, then you are also exempt. So technically it's legal to skip it, but here's a real question. Just because you can skip it, should you? Because upgraded straps are going to strengthen your entire structure. They'll also qualify you for wind mitigation credits, which can reduce your insurance premiums. So although you get a new roof and you're going to get a credit from your insurance if you get those roof-to-wall connections built up to code and to a standard which they should be, you also get an additional credit. And I've talked about in other videos where you will easily earn back your money that you spent within a couple years based off the savings that you'll get just from doing those roof-to-wall connections alone if your current home is not currently up to code. So the conversation shouldn't be what's the cheapest roof, it should be what makes my house stronger long term. Now let's talk about some materials. Now, shingles are typically the most affordable option. Tile is heavier and requires structural considerations. Metal roofing is very durable and it's going to perform very well when installed properly. And there's actually a metal tile which has the same aesthetics of a tile, but it has the same durability and performance of metal. So it's a nice combination. When you compare the metal tile to the standing seam, if you like the look of tile, metal tile is a great option for you. If you're considering solar panels, I usually recommend pushing people towards the standing seam because you don't have to make any additional penetrations in the roof itself, which also prevents additional leaks. More penetrations, more likelihood of finding leaks in the future. And any way you look at it, either material is going to have its pros and cons, but no material works alone. It's the system underneath that determines the performance. Ventilation is something that's often skipped as well. A lot of homeowners don't think about it. A lot of contractors don't talk about it enough, but this is our responsibility to bring that to the homeowner's attention and educate them. So why does ventilation matter? So heat builds up in your attic, and in South Florida, that heat is intense. If you don't know that already. Poor ventilation is going to trap the heat in your attic, and trap heat is actually going to shorten the life of your roof. It's also going to make your house a lot warmer. So that ventilation is going to help air circulate. It's going to reduce moisture, and it's going to protect your materials over time. And those materials that it's protecting is not only your roof, it's also your trusses, it's also your roof deck. It really makes a big difference. So when you hear the word roof replacement, you should be thinking what's happening underneath. What's happening with my ventilation? What's happening with the connections? And now here's another factor to consider: deck condition. So until your old roof is removed, no one knows exactly how much plywood is going to have to be replaced under it, or tongue and groove, whatever it may be. And if your decking is soft or damaged, it has to be replaced. And that's going to add some additional costs as well. But skipping damaged decking compromises the entire system. The only good thing about that is with inspections, they'll typically find that. And the only benefit to the homeowner in having to pay more to replace more wood, which is also a reason for a contractor to want to do it, is that if there is bad wood, the contractor gets paid more because they have to address it. And at the same time, for you, the homeowner, by you having that new wood, that new roofing system that you're installing actually has something solid to adhere to or to be fastened to. So let's talk about realistic costs. In South Florida, most shingle roof replacements fall anywhere between $12,000 and $35,000. Tile and metal can go much higher depending on the size and complexity. And if a quote is dramatically below that range, don't panic. Just ask good questions. What underlayment are they including? Is decking assumed or is decking excluded? How much decking is included? Are your roof to wall connections being addressed? Is ventilation part of the scope? Because a roof that looks good from the street isn't necessarily a good roof that's going to perform well during a hurricane. So here's the real question. Are you buying a surface upgrade, or are you upgrading the structural system that's going to protect your family and your investment for the long haul? Because there's a huge difference. A hurricane ready roof is about layers. You have connections, waterproofing, ventilation, structural changes, and how everything works together as one unit. In South Florida, that's not optional thinking, that's responsible home ownership. Bigfoot Windows and Roofing, building trust, one window, one door, one roof at a time.